My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
Join our Explorers program so we can keep on sharing nature with the world. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic WildEarth expeditions, have access to an animal identification app, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn connects a global population with nature.
Hello everyone, my name is Trishala and I am a naturalist and safari guide here in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. I think that the information that we provide and most importantly the questions that you ask give both you and I a really good idea of what's going on. My friend Fernando here, he's a flat-necked chameleon and I love them. They're just these gems that you manage to find in the bush.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth. Have you been watching WildEarth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. WildEarth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live WildEarth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply. This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning to all of our viewers around the world and welcome to welcome to andBeyond in Ngala. We are here currently watching this emerald spotted wood dove and it's feeding on the ground, moving around, and we are expecting to head down towards the riverbed and try and find if we can find tracks of any sign of big cats, leopards or lions. So please come and join us, come and experience the African bush live from your own homes. So it's quite a nice view that we have of this dove, and for the family of dove, quite a colourful specimen. And if you look at the wing panels, you've got those two little spots there that are green. So that is called an emerald spotted wood dove. And so, like I mentioned, I am on andBeyond Ngala at the moment. My name is Eric, and behind camera is BK. It does look like we've got some heavy rains up in the Tswalu, so they might be joining us a little bit later on, but we do have most of the other guides out and about. So hopefully we'll get to show you some wonderful, beautiful animals out here. And like I said, we are wanting to try and find some signs of leopard, which we haven't been able to see in the last week or so. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. And we're not too far away from the first section of Riverbed that I'd like to check. So I'm actually going to drop down into the river. Please also remember to send through all of your questions and comments using the hashtag on Twitter, hashtag WildEarth, or at FC on YouTube. If you're under 18, please feel free to send your questions through to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. It looked last night like it was clearing up, but it just seems we've got this massive front that is coming through the whole of the country almost, and it seems like as hard as the sun is fighting, the clouds seem to be winning at the moment. It doesn't look like the clouds are heavy though. They're quite high up, and they're not those big cumulus clouds that we saw yesterday. There's ones that are nice and big and puffy. Those tend to bring the rains in the low velds, and so we should be all clear to hopefully have a dry morning this morning. So this is the first section of Riverbed that I'd like to check, and there's a tributary not too far away from us here that's this leopard that we are after, who is a young male, often hangs around. We think that his mother has left him, because we actually haven't seen the mother in a very long time, and we've only been seeing fleeting glimpses of the male. I mean, it's still going to be quite challenging to find them and view them, just because we still aren't able to off-road yet. But in a couple of days, if we get some good sun and it dries up the soils, we'll hopefully be able to get off-road and follow the animals. Whilst we're driving along this riverbank, I mean, we can expect to find a few different things. So Miley, if we get good rains, hopefully it rains maybe once a week or so. Sometimes, it only rains in the summertime, so from November all the way to April at the latest, I'd say. But we don't get the constant downpours. It's more like a quick shower, a thunderstorm, and then it stops. So yesterday we got 39 millimeters of rain, so that is roughly, I think about 10 inches, if I'm not mistaken. No, probably not as much as 10 inches. I'll try and do the maths when I'm off air. Can't think on my toes fast enough. And that was enough to fill up all of the pans that were already drying up. We had some beautiful rains in October, and then since then it's been quite dry. We haven't had big showers. Oh, ground hornbills. Oh, we've been so lucky with these birds recently. I think we've been seeing the same 3 specimens because we are so close to one of the nests that I managed to find a couple of days ago. So it is just the 3, so I think it is the same group. And they must be loving life at the moment, because after these rains, beautiful termite ellates that are erupting from termite mounds. And This would be a welcome treat for these ground hornbills. And because we're seeing them so regularly, they're actually becoming pretty habituated to the vehicle. So I'll keep driving forward. We can get within about 15 meters of them before they start moving away from us. So I'll try and get that close. I'd love to get a close-up shot of their face, and you can see their eyes. They've got these very long eyelashes. Christina, I'm glad that you enjoy these southern ground hornbills. They are a very, very interesting bird. They look very prehistoric. Okay, I'll maybe go another 5 meters and then stop. One of my favorite things about them is actually their call. And you'll often hear it in the very early mornings. And it's just this low, booming noise that you can hear from quite a way away. So let's see, you might be able to, just on the left-hand eye of that one, you might just be able to see those eyelashes. Oh, it's got a frog. Sure. So cool to see how it uses its bill there to actually dig. Quickly scooped up a frog. So this one is doing exactly what the other two are, and they're going straight towards these elephant dung balls, and they flip them over. And within those dung balls, it provides quite a good environment for these little grabs that are nice and juicy that these ground hornbills will be targeting. Let me try creeping a little bit forward again. We'll try getting into a position. I'd actually like to see if I could sneak past them and turn around so that we could face them as they're walking towards us. That might be quite an interesting shot.
Morning everybody. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve here in Sabi. Cloudy day and some other parts of the western side where it's clear sky, a blue sky. And we started this morning with blacksmith plover right on the road. My name is Andrew. On camera I have Simon. So we actually on a look for a herd of buffalo that they were seen around in this area. We saw them last night on Gary Dam coming from the south to the north, and their tracks now leading north again. Possible that they have crossed into Babelshoek, where the Pride of Line, some of the other guys have seen them along the Manyeleti border there. So it's very interesting for us to actually able to find out what happened, if they ever get hunted or not. So this is the plan for the day this morning, and I'm on a speaking vehicle, which is very nice. And Lauren, she will be doing a silent segment this morning. So it's quite a very interesting day. As you can see, the cloud. This is actually western sector where we're looking at right now, where you can see all of the beautiful cloud that is showing up. There is not actually much of the dark sky. Where on the east, it looks like probably it's still drizzling out there. So today we're still sitting on 23 degrees, 74 Fahrenheit. And remember to talk to us, we're coming to you live. So on Kids Question at WildEarth.tv, also on hashtag WildEarth at FC, and on WildEarth.tv/Explorer for those of you who haven't been part of us. But you can go to our website and sign up. You're able then from there to able to participate with us, ask questions through anything we will be showing you about in this wild. So I'm going to carry on, do my check, and the other guys will be doing the other part as well. So this is how we're going to be finally found out about our buffalo, how far they've gone. I'm going to be sending you over to Lauren with her frogs.
Morning, Andrew.
Sorry about that. So we are still making our way north now along the Galago shortcut road, which is actually one of the shortcuts to hit the boundary, and then from there we're going to check to the east if these tracks of the buffalo then cross to the north, and then from there I don't think they will actually have to move that far. When we left them last night it was already late, so if they haven't found a great area for them to sleep on, and then they'll probably move slightly far north from there, and it's very nice because it was a Talamati and one of a dark mane, a Voka, that were seen separately. That's what I heard from the guys up north yesterday. So it will be very much interesting to see if because they mainly get hunted by lions, buffaloes, especially in a herd where the pride will be much interested on getting one of those young ones, because when they hunt on the breeding herd, they don't have to go KV. Yes, buffaloes are easy to spot, especially still wet. You know, we had a rain yesterday morning, so the ground is still very wet. So buffalo and lions, most of the other animals as well. So only easy things about and nice things about that is you're able to even tell how fresh they are, since you know what time was the rain and things like that. So that's what makes so much easy early in the morning. If these tracks hasn't been disturbed by any of the other animals or birds and things like that, then you're comfortable knowing that you're going to find that animal. But a herd of buffalo in this area, they don't stick much longer, so they move in and out quite quickly. And it's so because of maybe water is everywhere now. They don't have to depend on one water hole. Wherever they go, they find a drink, and grazing land, and it's all grasses, nutritious. Grasses have developed well green, and they actually feed on many of these type of grasses we have in this area. So many different type of grasses. So let me carry on do this northeastern boundary, and then I'm going to be linking you back to a southern ground hornbill.
We managed to sneak past them, and now we are waiting for them to come to us, and it looks like they're meandering through this area. There are two that seem to be moving in the opposite direction again, but that one is digging quite ferociously with its bill. And I'd love to see, I'm sure they're mostly targeting frogs within this river. And I wonder how they end up finding the frogs. It's very interesting. I haven't seen this behavior with hornbills before. And what I've noticed is this one in frame seems to be the only one that's doing it with much success. The other two don't much time digging with their bills. And so I wonder, maybe what this one is looking at is burrows and then digging up in the burrows. So, Janet, they will eat, I think, mostly the grubs of dung beetles. And those dung beetles have got an incredibly hard exoskeleton. And there are different dung beetles that lay eggs, and some will lay their eggs within a big pile of dung without to roll a ball. And some will even lay their eggs underneath the dung. And so that's probably what they're after now. It does actually look now that they're moving away from us again. Now, but these ground hornbills have got a very, very wide range of diet. They go for anything like little insects up to quite medium mammals. So jetpack boy, that red thing around their necks is a flap of skin. And it's actually probably the most reliable way, that and the bull, to tell the difference between male and females. And so we can have a look at that one in frame, and to me it's got a quite thick set bull. My book has got a very, very cool illustration that I will I'll show you just now. But whilst we've got these hornbills, have a look. If this one turns its face again, and so you look directly below its throat at that big sac. And if it's red all the way up to the top or the bottom of the bill, then it's a male. So let's see if this one is a male or a female. By the looks of it, it seems like the red goes all the way from the chest up to the bottom of the bill, so that I think is definitely a male. If we pan over to one of the other ones on the left, maybe the far left-hand one, it's giving us a side profile quite nicely. And it turns around just as we're trying to see what it is. But then now I guess we can compare the bill size if we can't see the red. And that one looks a bit smaller. Here we go. So you see that one below the chin, there's a spot of black. And so that means that it's a female. So just to show you this nice illustration that I've got over here. So this is obviously the hornbills that we're looking at down below us. And this is what I'm talking about. So the female's got that bare patch of skin that's black with a slightly thinner bill. And then the male's got a very, very big, prominent red throat without any black in between. So that's the main differences. And if you can see, what I was really trying to show you, if we got close enough, was the beautiful eyelashes that these hornbills have. You can see them from quite a distance away. And I mean, the three of them are going to spend the majority of the day feeding. And they'll be looking for anything, and they might rest up if it gets hotter. But I think they'll continue on at least for a couple of hours this morning.
Thanks, Lauren. Yeah, so we discovered these tracks of buffalo that looks like they cross to north into Bablisuk. We're going to find them. That's why I decided to check this small water hole here. But I know that I won't be very much interested to drink, especially at night. And they were probably just pushing on. And they were probably lying in one of these open area, I believe so. So this is actually one of the weavers we see right there, and all of the forminase frogs. Remember, frogs also put their eggs all in these forms, but it's got to be right up in this tree. There's no harm from this bird. It won't harm these nests at all, these weavers. But the reason the frog prefer to, place them, right? If you look at these, also amongst these nests of the weavers, and it looks like nothing disturb these nests. So the reason it's up in that height is because of when they place them close to a surface of water where there is a bank or close to a lake or anything like that. These terrapins and also Egyptian geese, they feed on these forms. So eventually it's a waste for the frogs. But there it looks like it's all safe. What happened if the ever hard rain come down? It will melt the whole nest into the water. This is how the young one were able to touch the water, and then from there they will. But then it happens if it ever dried out, and the old eggs going to dry out inside. What we need is the rain to able to, nothing to do with the frogs anymore. Since they place it and they forget about them, they have moved on. And once these eggs hatch, it's all about the rain. We're able to. I know. So we had a rain a few days ago. So I would assume it's probably maybe a week old or more than that. But sometimes that's averagely old. When these nests, sometimes they don't actually remain for long, maybe 15 to 20 days until they're completely a nest inside them. So all of these weaver returning back there. So it's so important when you have rain, after these nests been placed like this, and they're very soft, the rain will able to melt it down. Except for that rain come down, nothing else. And it's going to be so much problem if the heat take places and no rain for probably another 3 weeks, because then the nest going to be turned very much yellow. It means that eggs inside are all dying or burning up. And they usually do this during a very cooler weather, early in the morning or at night. And that's how they do that. So doing it, all combined male and female to do that. But of course the tortoise, when the reason they love them is because, many of these terrapins, they gain calcium using any type of object that is white, mostly. Would be if you talk about land tortoises, they would feed on even a hyena dung to gain that calcium, build their shell strong. So I'm going to carry on north again, see if these tracks lead us to somewhere where there's lines or anything. So I'm gonna be sending you to Lauren again.
seen this giraffe on the bank of the river, and it looked for a bit that it was staring down into the riverbed, and so we're trying to investigate what it might be looking at, but I think it's just surveying the land. I don't think it's spotted anything that it feels too threatened by. He is standing. We went live. He was moving around a bit, and if he had spotted that leopard that we are after, he would be still fixated on exactly the same point. And now that he's kind of turned his head towards the left, it tells me that he's not feeling too threatened at all. And so it's nice to see a big male like this. And he, I think, is probably just moving around these very tall trees along the bank, just feeding. And when we started the show, it looked like it was going to be an overcast day today, but it looks like the sun burn off those thin clouds. And so we're starting to get some really, really good sunlight, and I think it's just going to start warming up. Ah, cool, he's coming down. It's quite a steep gradient for him, but it looks like he's navigating it quite well. Needs to trot to keep up. I mean, with such a high sense of gravity, it must be quite tricky moving up and down very steep slopes. And see, he's scanning. I mean, I wonder if it wasn't as simple as spotting another just to just go and investigate. So Sonia, we in the whole of South Africa have only got one species of giraffe called the southern giraffe, and so Ngala has only got one species. Oh, look at as he comes into the light, it's really stunning. Excuse my big head if it got into the way of the frame. But now, I mean, he's looking more intently. No, he is looking around. I'm sure it's just, it could even be movement of a little Ngala or a bushbuck that might have caught his attention. So you just want to make sure what it is. Listening is really nice. It looks like his coat is in really good condition. It's so nice to see him unobstructed out in the open like this. And watch where he walks. So he'll be walking straight along a game trail that crosses the river and up on the bank. So it'll be the easiest place for him to get up. Let's see if he gets up as well as he got down. Gonna start feeding. And he's got a couple of oxpeckers on him, who I think are mostly red-billed oxpeckers. Now he's disappearing. Let me try and move forward. If it is a game trail, we should have a relatively good gap bank. Sarah, it is a beautiful spot pattern, and Jetpack Boy was asking, I think it was Jetpack Boy was asking me about the different species of giraffe that we get here, and we only get one, but throughout Africa we do get several more. And for me, one of the prettiest giraffe to look at is a giraffe called a reticulated giraffe. Sorry, it was Sonia, not Jetpack Boy. Excuse me for that. And yeah, we are I'll see if I can find a photo for you. But the reticulated giraffe, okay, so the reticulated giraffe, instead of having those funny hexagonal, oh yes, good spot, BK. So there is another giraffe, so that's exactly what the male was looking at across the bank. And so if it's a male, he might just be looking to see if it's a large male, and he might be walking across to try and assert some dominance. Otherwise, if it's a female, he'll be sniffing around, trying to see if there's any chance that she might be coming into estrus. But I just wanted to quickly show you what the reticulated giraffe looks like, because I think for me it's the most aesthetically pleasing one, this one over here. So the southern giraffe is this one, and so it's pretty, but for me, the reticulated giraffe over here, look at how clean it is. It's got those beautiful big bold markings and the thin white in between those hexagonal shapes. But unfortunately, nowhere near southern Africa, you only get them up in East Africa. So we've lost visual of both the male giraffe and the other one, and so I think we'll continue on driving. So, whilst we continue driving along the riverbed, we're just about to get to that tributary. There's some beautiful elephants that we would like to show you.
Thanks, Lauren. So on our follow-up on the herd of buffalo, we've been called that there is a male lion here. So we didn't carry much following this buffalo, but later we were probably going to find out, because this is the male that was single yesterday, that we saw him separate from the pride, which looks like he hasn't joined them yet. So it could be that they still on hunt somewhere else, wherever they are, or they haven't been returned back to this area since they were seen along Manyeleti boundary yesterday, and they were moving slightly east from that position. So he wouldn't know exactly where they are right now because of the communication they do at night. Remember, I've walked a male there. It's probably two brothers that are not here, so they're probably somewhere else. Probably with Djuma Pride, which there seems to be dominating two different pride in this area for now. So also, where we saw him yesterday, it's far east, so he make his way up here to the west. And if he's going to continue like this, then he's probably going to maybe cross to the west, maybe into Simambile or the western boundary that side. Karen. So we're looking at the full-grown male. So Avoca males, they're especially Dugman, you can see here, it's actually full-grown male. And I'm going to put him around maybe 8. That is my estimation. 8 years, 8.5 years old, somewhere there. Or could be more than that. With some male, they develop dark mane, but that's the older they get. Usually when they get old, so the men change from gold light to dark. Some male, they're well developed with such a huge mane, depend on the gene pool. Some are less mane, but then when you look at that animal, you can tell from the skin itself that's a lot of scar, and he's been over a lot of fights, so he's been out in this world for a long time. Generally, the lifespan for males, it tends to be very much shorter due to a lot of challenge that they're facing, which many times they die from fighting many times. It's actually a serious challenge for them. Wherever they are, the male, they have to dominate. Dominate for them, it works when they're in a group. Like there are 3 of them, these Avoca male, they have a lot of chance to actually, since they get around here, we've seen them reproduce with the pride that we have, and we see a lot of their offspring, which they're already grown up now. It's so good having this kind of coalition of male around, where if it's only one line, it's very difficult for him to be able to manage to dominate everywhere he goes, unless if there is not much of the other male around wherever, and that you would see him at least survive, and then he would establish his own gene pool within a few prides around where he would move around, dominate. And then for male, it's easy for him to the sunshine. Lion, I mean, most cats, they are affected quite a lot by the weather change. But, the worst weather for them, it's a heat. when it's so much hot in the day, they will do less movement. You find them in the shade very much. And then ever do a lot of movement, this is when it's probably early morning or a late afternoon. And that's where you see them started to move. But the weather like this, what we had now, is still cloudy. So, and this is actually wherever you want, you can still push on, move wherever you want to go, because the weather still allow him. So they prefer this kind of weather where it's anything from 18 to about 25 Celsius, which is for them medium kind of weather. Most when it's drizzling, and they still, have a lot of energy to move. Remember, they conceive a lot of energy from spending a lot of time sleeping. They sleep for quite a long time, 18 hours roughly for lions, or 18 and a half, probably 19 hours they can sleep. And then when they get mobile again, this is when now they have to move. Sometimes movement they do, it can't be direct move, and they move and take it easy sometimes for 1 hour or two, lying down, and again they take off and move. This, they gain quite a lot of hunting skill from there, or it's because now they hunt by either hearing or sight smell. And then if they could hear any distress sound or any brace, and they will know exactly where to go from there, and even judge the distance, how far sound that they heard, and from there they will move in that direction. There somewhere, either they've been disturbed or maybe smell something.
What fascinates me most about the animal circle of life is the intricacies between the large and the very, very small. I mean, it's very easy to go out there and find the large. Once you found the large, the cascading effects down to the small absolutely fascinates me. Alertness and situation awareness is by far the number one aspect for protecting ourselves out on safari.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth. An ever-increasing part of the global population is losing its connection with nature. WildEarth is here to reduce people's stress and anxiety, allowing you to escape into nature even just for a few hours a day. However, WildEarth is expensive to run, and we need help from you to keep this ship going. WildEarth Explorers gives you the opportunity to be part of a program that supports the sharing of nature with the world.
My name is James Henry, and I work here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi sands on the western fringes of the Greater Kruger National Park. My favorite part of getting questions from viewers is that we get to have long and varied discussions about all sorts of different aspects of nature. Because our audience comes from all over the world, it's very special to have different perspectives from everywhere. If you want to submit a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to the Live Safari page and submit your question beneath the live feed.
This is Rusty. He's my favorite vehicle, and we've been through all the good times here in the bush. Now, if you feel a connection to Djuma Game Reserve like I do, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can have your name engraved on a brushed metal plaque just like this one, and we will attach it to Rusty so you can always be with us on safari in spirit. We will even send you a digital photograph once your plaque is mounted on Rusty. Spaces are limited, so grab your spot now.
All right, so we're still in the riverbed, and Rowan and I have decided to team up, and we are both looking for this young male leopard who was last seen around this area. Riverbed Rowan has gone onto the bank, and so he's checking parallel to us on the right. And he's driving slowly in the same direction that we're going. And once we get to the next crossing point, we're going to switch over. So then Rowan is going to drop down into the river, and then I am going to get back up onto the bank. So we'll tag team it like that. We haven't had too much luck yet, but now that we are getting closer, it should be, in theory, quite easy to spot tracks if he did cross the riverbed, just because everything's been rained on, and so I mean, if there's nice fresh clear tracks, we should be able to see it quite clearly. So just want to make sure that I give myself, but whilst we're doing so, I did ask BK just to keep an eye out on the top of the trees over here. We have been seeing a pair of African hawk eagles who are I think nesting in the area. We actually haven't found their nest, but they do provide us with some very good views of them, so it would be nice to get them on camera. It's a beautiful riverbed to be driving, and I love driving past and just literally looking. So Freddie, it's a good question, and it depends on what stats you look at. If you're looking at height, at the shoulder, because they've got those very long, slender limbs that they use for sprinting. But if you're looking at weight, I would say, a leopard is definitely bigger. You know, they're much more strength dependent, and so they've got the big bulky shoulders, the big neck, for catching and killing their prey and for hoisting it up trees. And so if a slight height advantage, a leopard will dominate because they're so much more strong. And so 9 times out of 10, if there were to be an interaction between the fight, will just run away. One of my favorite animals up ahead, we've just seen a baboon. Let me just try. I don't want to get the aerial in, so I'm going to angle quickly. How's that, PK? It should be okay. Looks like there's a big male sitting on the bank contemplating life. Like he might even be just having a quick snooze. His head or his chin is tucked into his chest, and he's very still. I don't blame him. It is an early start to the morning. I'd probably be doing exactly the same. If you're a big male baboon, you've got your work cut out for you. You've got a whole troop of sometimes up to 100 individuals to look after and take care of. And then lots of naughty little infants that you have to try and discipline. And so they've got their work cut out for them. I've actually just seen another one, BK. It's quite far along the river. It seems like the whole troop is actually up ahead. So I wonder if this one... They are quite smart. Bridget, they in terms of the evolutionary process, like chimps are to use tools, but I guess they know where to find their resources, and they know how to look after the rest of the troop and the family. And so I don't know if they're as good as problem solvers as the other primates like chimps are, but they go by and survive. You can also look at it, if a baboon wasn't smart, there's very little likelihood that they would still be around today. So they know how to survive. Now, I think we can't really compare them to human intelligence because we don't really know what's going on in their brains of theirs. But they know their environment incredibly well. They know how to stay safe. They know where to find resources throughout the whole year. And so they know what to do to survive. And so this big one, I mean, if you look at it, it's just jaw, that long face, and in those long faces are 4 very, very long fangs that it will use to protect its troop. And he's just glancing over in that direction. And it does look like the troop is slowly making their way in this direction. So I'd love to see if we can find almost that nursery group where we get to see some of the youngsters misbehaving. They'll be chasing each other around and pulling each other and jumping on trees and irritating as many baboons as they can, like normal human beings. And there's one baboon there, yeah, that one in frame. Look how he's lying. On his back, in front of him, obviously also just taking a while to morning. And I mean, at this time of year is really good for them because of all of the trees that are starting to fruit, and so these baboons will target them. And then they'll also go after these flying ants and the termites. So we'll try to get a closer view and see if I can find that infant group where we can watch them entertain us. But it sounds like we've got a nice big predator to show you.
Thanks, Eric. Good luck with this baboon. So we got now these male lion. Now he looks like he's up. Yeah, he's up. He's busy yawning. Not sure how long he's been lying down here. And the other guy, they're not sure also because they find him lying right off this road. So of him yawning, it's probably that maybe he might be interested on moving again or change place to another area. So this is actually usual for male to sometimes separate from the girls, from the bride. Where we had a rain, and a lot of time what the rain does for all animal that they scent marking their territory boundary by any chemical, it's more likely to be washed off by the rain. And for them to re-scent again, and they have to do it immediately before, a lot of a confusion take places. Where it's a lot of places where it's not identical, or other lions won't know exactly if this area has been taken or it's occupied, and they will find themselves in. So it's so important for him while he's in this far apart, and the rest of other brothers also they're doing the same thing somewhere else. Depend in the area where how many lions around in the reserve. Some area male lion can dominate area, or the average length of the property they dominate 100 kilometers, and it goes less to about maybe 50 down to 30, depend in the reserve. It's so many of them, they have to squash within the reserve, but each one has to has their own territory. He's cleaning off himself. Lena, yes, he has. So they dominate, this pride dominate the torchwood, not a torchwood, but the Talamati pride is the pride that I think they've been seen yesterday on the northern border. And they have their offspring, these males' offspring, which it actually looks like 3 young males and a lot of females, young female within that pride, which they still under the age of probably 2 years or somewhere there, and they're still, or not very young, they can able to survive themselves that age, but and then they still need their parents to take care of them. And then with Nkuhuma as well, they have their offspring with them. So it's so good that they're sticking around here. Many of time, lions, male lions, if they know so much of area, that is so much of free prides that they're not dominated, it means it's a less of male in a reserve, and of course they would abandon a pride and they'll move on, trying to dominate somewhere else. By doing that, we've seen happen that they don't mainly return back. It's a small chance of them returning back to the previous pride. So what you see there, it's so much of conflict, whereas so much challenge over here. If these males ever move away and different coalition get in, find some of these males' offspring so young, and they're more likely to be killed, especially when they're 15 weeks or a year and a half, 2 years, they're more likely to be still killed. Since the arrival of a new male, they don't tolerate other males' gene pool within the new pride. So they were forced to kill them all and then take over the pride, reproduce, going on and on. So also if they don't stick around, the second coalition move on, it means the third coalition moving in. They're probably going to do the same again. Kill their offspring. So that's what you mainly finally see, less lion in the area, or not even a single cubs that growing up well, because the father don't take care of them after reproduction take place, and they move off. But they're done very good, these coalitions, since they get in here. Michael, so you want to know the first coalition of male lion that I've seen here. So it was around quite a few of them, but the first one, if I remember correctly, was a Djuma coalition, and they were named after the way they were doing or their behavior. They wouldn't stick around for any company cars that were just going to run. They were originally from Kruger National Park. And at that time, they actually moved off, and they were pushed by the Mapocho. When they get in, the Mapocho pushed them off, and they move. They didn't actually return back here. So we've seen Mapocho dominate for a while, but then they came in from the south, this area, and they've done a lot of killing. Also those that were not actually politely males, that would kill females if it's possible. And I remember correctly, they didn't actually leave behind their offspring here. Not that I can remember. They only come and do destruction and move back south again. but they were pushed off by the Manjingalan coalition. So Manjingalan also, they were one of these coalition. They come from nowhere up southeast of the reserve, and they were looking also for a dominant area, and the battle take over and over from there until the chance they come across the Mapocho male. There were only 2 of them. They were separate apart from there. They were not in a group. And the killing happened. Mapocho managed to kill one of the Matimba male that morning, and then evening we went to the area again. The battle started. Once they started getting mobile, move around, and the revenge take place. And then this Matimba managed to kill one of the Mapocho, which was a kinky tail, die right on it. It's actually northeast from this area, close to Ngoro area, that side, Ngoro camp. That's where he died. So since then, also, the Mapocho ran south. The Matimba also went south. So that's what happened, and they never returned. And we had a Manjingalan coalition as well. They also went south, haven't returned back, and then again it comes Birmingham males, which they stick slightly longer, but then they abandon their pride here. They abandon the Talamati and abandon the Nkohumas and the Torchwood, and then they have moved south. There's a few news out there that they've been seen, or one has come back here, but I'm not sure if they're still out there, or probably still out there, or their offspring. And today we have these coalition. We believe they can do better since they've been here for long, actually, for now. So he's just going to take it easy, lying down again. When he was licking himself, yawning, thought maybe he's going to show us a little bit of a movement, but not at all. Just closing his eye again. So sense of smell, sight, hearing, it's great for lions. Especially if it's windy, they can pick up dead carcass for quite a long way. So I'm gonna stay put here, and then I'm gonna silent segment. So we're still here with our single male, a dark male, mane, a walker. He's lying very flat, where the temperatures allow him to be in this very open patch here, where he's not in the shade at all. You can see, even there's no sun shining through, with a heavy cloud on the east that is forming already. See, that was a part of a Kruger National Park. Dano, his stomach's not bad actually, so he's not starving hungry. When you look at his tummy, you don't see many of ribs, or he's cool. He's probably eaten maybe a day or two before you get into this position. But for him to be able to feed well, he's got to stick with the pride, where to hunt more than he does when he singles himself out. He will rely on scavenging, taking over carcass from hyena, from leopard, from the dogs. Anything that he picks up dead, he would feed on that. Probably was that a hippo that died on one of the Ngala Dam. It's actually east of here. So I'm not sure if he came from there, but I think it was a one male that he was seen feeding on that hippo, dead hippo. But nobody went yesterday. So I would assume maybe he's from that. That's why he still had a little bit of a expand tummy. Well, that type of meal, if he would Emily, 13 years old, so how to tell if the lions are old? So mainly you're looking at the size of the animal. If it's a male, you would be able also to see the dark mane that develop under his chin. But the size-wise also can tell. But also look at the face of that animal. If it's a male, see a lot of a scar. This is due to the fight over these years. And of course, when you look at this male here, with this well-developed mane, and it's all changed dark. And this is how you can tell this male is old. But all they were talking about for a male, usually 8.5, 9 years old. And some can get up to 10 years old if they ever survive. Look at this mane. It's got a very beautiful mane, this male. But if it's so much of a challenge, a lot of males out there standing, challenging each other for a fight, they mainly die of age of 5 or even before they dominate. So male are lucky when they grow up in a coalition of more than 1, 3, 4 males, which they get around, work as a team, cooperating and fighting over other males. It works perfect. And this gene pool thing, it's always when they're 4, 3, one has to be a dominant. And I'm 16 years old, so you want to know which common cat that is in Djuma. So lions and the leopard, those are common cats that we see quite often. We know these lions, sometimes they vanish up to the north into Manyeleti, but sometimes it happened the male come in or male switch back and then the female get in. But leopard also, that's a fairly common cat I know apart from there, you want to talk about hyena also, they one of these companies that we see every drive and everywhere you drive, because they also scavenge, follow behind the cats, hoping to steal. So these are the two common cats that we roughly see every time we're talking about finding cats or tracking cats. You would talk about if you ever hope to find a cat or a leopard or lions. Also tracking them, we were talking about how easy this morning it was, or it is, more especially after the rain, if you ever find their tracks, that you actually feel comfortable of how far you're going to follow them, or you think how old they has been, or they have been in the area, like we were following up on this buffalo. I can tell you this buffalo, they hasn't reached this far. So I've given up following up on them because I've been called out for these male. I'll probably get an update if there's somebody find them out there. So yeah, this is the common two cats that we often see. Jonathan, thanks for that question. So I'm not 100% sure what is bigger compared to these two. I know we got a female lioness, which is lioness, and a male lion, and then which one is bigger against or between these two. I know for sure the tiger, they don't grow mane, and that I'll double check on that, and then I will also bring answer back to you maybe the next drive. But for sure, tiger, they also, you won't find them around here, because then these are mainly in a wet area where it's permanently wet. And these are the jaguars and that. No, you won't find them even in a high veld or low veld. And it's something to do with the habitation, where they would need to be very much in contact with water or temperature. It's great for them when in a wet, pretty much humid but wet, and that's where you will find tiger. Well, not that I know of in this whole entire reserve, that I haven't heard of any tigers have been reintroduced, where I don't think it would ever, due to this, habitation we're talking about. If it was ever in a forest and part of this biome, I think we would try, but I don't think it will work. I'd looked at those in India's and that. So it looks like now he just try or decide to look away from us. And then it's probably that he's been lying for so long in one side, which it was towards us. So I'm going to stay put with this male here, just to see what he's going to be finally up to next time.
So Rowan and I have switched places. So he's now in the riverbed. We off of the riverbed driving along the bank, and I'm actually just following the route that he drove, but in reverse. And the reason being is that although Rowan didn't see any fresh tracks or signs of this male leopard is still young and his movements are very sporadic. And so he moves around without too much of a plan. And so, he could crisscross along this area and turn back and come back in this direction. And so we're just taking it easy and just looking in some of these areas where he might be. And what might have brought him into this area is we got the nice dense cover of the vegetation on the Timavati River. And then within these guari thickets, we do get some nice open clearings where the impalas with young lambs at the moment and wildebeest with calves, and so he might be trying to just try and see if he can find something to hunt. And even then, that will encourage him to move and zigzag and move in very funny directions. So we are relatively close to one of the big water holes that we have out in the western part of the reserve. And so we'll probably head in that direction if we don't find any fresh signs of him, or we don't spot him ourselves. And so yeah, we'll keep checking. It's quite tricky to look for him because he is quite hard to find. But you never know. You never know with the bush, and that's the best thing about it. You never know what's around the next corner.
Thanks, Eric. So, he's still looking away from us. And by looks like maybe he's going to be lying down here for a while. But if he ever picked up any sound or any smell sort of that he would smell and knowing exactly if there is something he would go for, he would have stood up and moved into that direction. Where this morning the grasses, dew is taking places. It was wet grasses where many times cats will prefer to walk on the road. And then he's been on a road where we just, saw his tracks. And the grass is wet. Most cats, they would prefer roads. He's thinking of stretching or maybe standing up. So if the weather keeps on like this the whole time, he's more likely not to change the position or move to an area where it's far from here, where he doesn't have to do that when he wants to. Oh, yeah. Yep. He's amazing male, that. So the size of a male like this would weigh more than 200 kilograms. It makes it easy for him by himself. He will be able to bring the female buffalo down. And they are machinery animals. He just went down again. So they're killed by suffocate a lot of time. But with a buffalo, if they hunt buffalo in group, they have to work, they have to cooperate, because buffalo, they're one of these animals that can stand for their own ground and their own survival. They fight back lion. A lot of time, lion lost their lives hunting buffalo. But once they get a hold of one, make sure that they killed it immediately. So I'm going to stay put again, sending you over Lauren with a silent segment on a termite.
So we have got quite a nice bird in frame, and I suspect that this bird might be a new bird for some WildEarth viewers if they've been keeping a list over the years. It's a bird called a dusky lark, which is quite a tricky one to find sometimes, and it's very obliging being right out in the open for us. And in terms of larks, I mean, often we think of larks as, you know, these common drab-looking brown birds, but this one has got quite a lot of color in it. And if you look around the face, it's got quite a dark ear and a very distinctive ear covert, so that funny C-looking shape that it's got on its face. And then if it turns towards us, it'll have quite a white chest and very, very, very streaking, or dark streaking at least, on the chest and the breast. And so it's one that we definitely don't see too often. And it is a migratory species, so we do only really get to see them in the summer months. So from October to May, a lot of the time. I'd love for it to turn around so we get to see its breast. And there's another bird that you could maybe... Greg, yes it is. It's an intra-African migrant, so it doesn't cross any ocean. It just moves north and south throughout Africa. And it's a non-breeding migrant in this area, as far as I believe. So they don't come here to breed, but rather here to just follow the summer and follow all of the good resources. And so they'll only breed north of southern Africa. They don't come down here to breed. I'd love for it to turn around, just so you get to see that streaky breast that I'm talking about. Darcy Ann, I'm very excited that this is a new bird for your list. We got a WildEarth lifer. That's very cool. Nice way to spend the morning. Oh, it's one... I guess it could also be overlooked because it is sometimes, I mean, it's not the prettiest looking bird, and you see them in these short grasslands, so you can drive past them. That's why I'm so glad that this one is out in the middle of the road looking around. And the only bird that you could really confuse it with in terms of the coloration that we get in southern Africa is called a ground scraper thrush. And they look quite similar, but the thrush has got a different look to the bill and the general shape of it. So I'll actually just show you the difference between the two. So that's a good question. I'm just looking in my book to see if I can see how many birds that they lay. I don't think it'll be too many. I can't seem to see on the book. But I might just have to double check that and get back to you. So let me just show you quickly the difference between the dusky lark and the ground scraper thrush, just so you're all on the same page that I am and we can reach a consensus. So this is the bird in question, I'd say. And so that's that dark sort of ear covert that I'm talking about. And then that's what it looks like when it turns around. So very heavily streaked and not so quite pale legs. And very lark looking, whereas the ground scraper thrush is this one here. And so this one, just by the look of it, I mean, it's slightly bigger. It sits very, very upright, and it's got these bright yellow legs with a yellow bill. And then the streaking goes all the way down to the belly over here. And another very nice thing to look for is when they fly, they've got those yellow wing windows on the primary wing feathers of the bird. So they do look very similar. If you look at that one and you look at that one over there, you can see how you can confuse them. But that's quite a nice photo of what it looks like there, down at the bottom. So these wing panels are also quite distinctive. You can see the orangey color in the wing panels, and then that streaky with the ear covert. So let's go and have a look at them, and hopefully we can all reach a consensus. Okay, so that is definitely a dusky lark. Really cool, and I hope many people get to tick off this as one of their WildEarth lifers. So whilst we carry on driving from here, looking for some more fantastic birds, there's a nice big pride of lions for you to go and have a look at.
Welcome everybody this morning. Sorry we joined you quite late. We have found Mountain Pride. They've stationed themselves in a quarry where the cubs seem to feel like it is a lot of fun to play. Good place to start the morning. Welcome to andBeyond Phinda, everyone. I'm Kim, and behind the camera we've got Owen. Yeah, so we had a bit of a rough start to the morning, lots of tire changes, loss of phones, etc., but we are here, and we are happy to be here, and we are happy to be with this pride of lions who, yeah, well, at the moment are doing a little bit of not much. So the two lionesses on the right and one cub on the left. There are 5 cubs in this pride, so this is one of 5, the one on the left-hand side of those 3. Sitting there pretty chilled. I'm not sure where the others are probably down on the opposite side of the little hill that they're sitting on. Apparently they were on a Ngala carcass last night, so I think that they'll all have some food in their belly. But if you can imagine, a Ngala doesn't go a very long way for a pride of 7 lions, the 2 females and the 5 cubs. These 2 lionesses have quite their work cut out for them. So this pride is actually bigger than just these 7 lions. There are 2 other females. One who is denning at the moment. She has some very, very young cubs. They've been seen maybe 2 or 3 times, just a handful of times. They're very, very little. And then the 4th lioness, I think, what is she doing at the moment? I think she's not quite, she's mated, but she's not visibly pregnant, and she hasn't had cubs yet. And then there are 2 sub-adult lionesses who are also part of this pride. One of them is a little bit nomadic at the moment. She shouldn't need to leave the pride because lionesses tend to stay with their pride for life, but they seem to have broken away, the 2 sub-adults. Saw her just this morning, actually. Yesterday morning, by herself. And her sister, also sub-adult, or just of kind of mating age, so about just over a year and a half, between a year and a half and 2 years old, was mating with, quite dramatically, mating with 2 males outside of her territory, so not with the males that are dominant over her own territory. So some interesting dynamics going on there. Seems that those two sub-adult lionesses have decided to break away from this pride and probably make their own pride. They are yet to join up with any other, and they probably won't. They wouldn't join up with a pride of lions that are not related to them. So their goal, and I mean, I don't even know the last time they were actually with this pride, quite a long time ago. A few months, many months. So quite interesting that they seem to have decided that they're going to make their own way, make their own pride. And one of the reasons for that would just be, I've mentioned all the cubs, these 5 that we are with, although we can only see 1, plus the new litter. And I don't doubt that the 4th lioness will probably have a litter relatively soon. You can imagine also, as we were talking about, many mouths to feed. So so those lionesses are probably happy to head out on them by themselves and hunt for themselves instead of having to share with their many younger siblings. They do look very cool on those rocks. It's got a very Lion King kind of vibe to it. On a nice elevated area, they've got a good vantage point. They can see quite far around them, and they look extremely regal. Especially that one on the far right. She looks very there's a vehicle viewing them just on to the right, and she's kind of looking at them, and quite funny. She seems to be thinking, like, what are you doing here in my vibes? Daniel, that's a good question. They were named Mountain Pride. I mean, I suppose, yes, you could say that they are all Asia, but that is not their namesake. Namesake is, here in Phinda, we've got a lodge called Mountain Lodge. Number of lodges, all named after kind of habitats. So Mountain Lodge, Forest Lodge, Rock Lodge, all depending on where they sit. And this pride tends to hang out around Mountain Lodge, or used to. Their territory does seem to have shifted somewhat. But yeah, it is quite fitting that they're sitting up on I wouldn't call it a mountain, but rocky outcrop with the name Mountain Pride. Oh, I can see a cub making its way. Is it going to come up the mountain? Yeah. Coming up there's a little cub who looks like he's coming up the mountain or the rocks to join those on the top. And yeah, you can see the lioness sitting kind of closest to the cub. You can see how big and strong she is. She's got very powerful. Oh wow, look at that cub over there. Sorry, you've just noticed one kind of walking across do you see it there? Oh, further away than we thought they were. They're right on another, like a whole other outcrop. You can imagine how much fun it is for these cubs to stalk one another and play with one another in this environment. All the hills to run up and down, lots of boulders and corners to hide behind. Oh, lay down, it's a bit boring. Looked like he was going to go stalk his sibling. interesting that on such a cool morning, they're so inactive. Nancy, in this grass with, when it's pretty dry and even, I suppose, the colours of the rocks, they are very camouflaged. You could imagine, if you weren't looking for them or you didn't know they were here, you would just pass by thinking of them as rocks or a tuft of grass. So, yeah, their camouflage works pretty well. Those up on those red rocks are a little bit less camouflaged. Their light coat doesn't quite blend them in very well to the rocks that they're sitting on, but the grass, they do blend in pretty well too, especially when it's quite dry. And here on Phinda it hasn't rained for quite a while. We are desperate for rain. It's a beautifully overcast sky, which I'm ever grateful for after yesterday's sweltering heat, but no signs of rain yet. Got a few kind of timid drops earlier, but nothing that's going to fill up any of the watering holes or anything quite like what we need. Let's see if that one runs down the... See how he goes into stalk mode. Head down below his shoulders, ears kind of flat as well. You can absolutely see that he's focused in on something. I'm fairly certain that it's probably one of his siblings. Look at the hunched shoulders. Oh, laziness. But he's definitely looking at something. And I think that the other three cubs must be behind there playing, and he might be looking in, deciding whether or not to get involved. Okay, what I think I'm going to try and do is move around the side of the boulder where all the lions are and see if we can't see the rest of the cubs. But yeah, while we do that, we'll send you over to enjoy a nice wait. I think he might be about to, look at it. You see that cub is starting to do his leopard crawl, as it were. Oh, and again, just stops. There he goes, look at him. Oh, we won't see the attack. Oh my gosh, there's another one coming along. It's got a leg of a Ngala, I think. See it on the ridge there. Yeah, we were talking about earlier about that they had a kill, and this one looks like very proudly showing off what looks like a full leg. It's like about 3 different bones all still attached to one another. Lauding it around quite proudly. So interesting. It's one of my favorite things in the world is watching young animals, whether it's predators or plains game, just learning to be like an adult. So, I mean, there's no reason for that cub to be carrying that little piece around, but it'll all be contributing to its abilities for later on. That cub that was stalking down the hill, same thing. Very important behavior, and also very interesting to see how long he waited to actually go in and attack his siblings. Oh my gosh, look at the tail on there. A bum in there. Yeah, it just shows a little bit of patience, which is something that young lions tend to lack when they start hunting for themselves. I think it's quite a practiced skill to realize when is the time to go, when they see the animal that they want to hunt and have to wait for the right opportunity. I think inexperienced lions tend to, one of the other little cubs is coming up to attack his the one with the leg. Oh my. He's crouching down. Again, like this utter patience, which you don't see when they're much younger, would be like a crouch and then a... Oh, there you go. Dropped his leg in alarm. And love the way their tails curl up in that balance as they run along there. Yeah, but I was just commenting on the fact that it seems their play becomes more and more serious as they get older. So whereas they would just walk up and possibly crouch their shoulders and put their head down and then just sprint off at one of their siblings, now there is more of a waiting game. There's more of that, like, okay, when is the exact time? Like, how long do I wait here for them to not know that I'm here? Let me get close enough so that I don't have to run too far. All those instincts of hunting. Oh my gosh, it'll roll down the hill. And even that, those trying to ankle tap one another. It's just important on working out how they'll do it to their prey. Another little cub coming in, running up the hill. There he goes. He's about to be attacked. Oops. It's incredible how fearless they are as well on these sheer rocks. We were with them a couple of days ago because they have actually been at this quarry for a few days. And I saw one do an absolute wipe out down one of these rock faces, just head over heels, rolling down the hill, and just got to the bottom, and he did look a little bit embarrassed, like, oh dear, what kind of happened? Which is pretty funny, but he got up and carried on playing with the rest of the cubs all over. They just don't seem to be very bothered by falling all over the place. I think we're going to stick with these active cubs. It's so epic being in a lion sighting where there's cubs, because lions are often sleeping, but cubs are always a lot more full of energy. So we're going to stick around. We've lost sight of all the cubs for now. Might try and go around, get a different angle.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off.
It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The cock's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it?
Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we come into live from the Chobe River?
It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live, and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
Cool, everyone. So we decided to leave that male lion lying flat there, same place. And then again we were called in that there is a buffalo arriving into this very waterhole here. As you can see, some of them are already feeling comfortable lying right inside of this water. Probably because of our all just loving the weather, and I don't mind getting wet. All they need is it's actually greater temperature for them to be able to move forward. I think they spend a lot of time, I believe so, between this dam and the Djuma, which we in Beverlysoek right now in one of the camps. It's called Harduk. So, and they continue again moving north, and they probably, if they don't change that direction, they will appear right at that male, or slightly western side of that direction of that male is right now. So we're going to spend a little bit of a time with them, and then if we lost them in this wood, it's fine. We're going to go back to that male, stand by there, and then if they're going to come out in that area. We're looking at the savanna buffalo or Cape buffalo. Look at this oxpecker, red-billed oxpecker, enjoying getting ticks off this animal. We're looking at the cow there. It's female, two female, chewing the cud. It always, with these ruminant animals, work better when they chew a cud stationary or lying down flat. Look at these cows' horn, far difference to the bull, where bull they have balded horn. It comes very much helmet also in front of these head. We're gonna go to one of them, yeah? It's one of the male. If we look at the head structures, different compared to the female at the water. It's quite a lot of a difference, bigger male in this group. It works like pretty much like a regular cows at home, where you got a few bulls that every time the female she comes on estrus or heat, they'll be gathering around, going after her, but they're always the dominant who will push the weakest out and then take the female by himself. So mating here, it happens, any female that she comes on heat, since there are quite a few males, they monopolize mating. And that's how you see all of his breeding herd, all they were just here. I can't believe they were just vanished into the bush now, but Kenra. So both male and female, they do carry horn, but the different shape of the horn, which on the males they grow helmet on like front of his head. You see very well developed helmet, where female they grow regular horn just like in the ordinary cows. So there is a difference. It's one of the female there. So where the horn for the females grow from in that head structure, you also see where they joined up the horn it's a separate where you see there is a black hair, where on the males you see it's all combined. But you could see that they all separate, but then they're all just balled up. And looks like they're going to move through this wood. Only here, just a lot of bushes going on there. So they mainly breed throughout the year. Many times during the rain, they breed quite a lot. And less breeding when it's not much of green. We're also full-grown. Buffalo can weigh anything from 900 kilogram, never a ton, but that's average weight for them. Where gestation period is normally 11 days. I mean, not 11 days, but 11 months. 11 months, give birth to one single calf. Not sure if because the cows also can give birth to twins, but I haven't actually come across the buffalo does that, which maybe they can. The system on these animals, similar like cows, only the difference is these were all wild animals. And this is the color of them that you saw back there. None of them have a different color, all the same, dark. Those are younger, they're still like goldish colors. But they will reach the dark color as they grow up. They were almost abandoned animals in this savanna area. You want to know the difference between the savanna buffalo and the water buffalo? Many times there is a different shape of the horn, but also size. These are slightly much bigger, and well, for sure, water buffalo, you find them in where it's a wet area throughout the year, possibly. Where this one, savanna buffalo, you find them even in the winter, dry area, or where there's the rainfall switch between, or a lot of rain in the summer, then less rain in the winter, and you still find them. And they're also far from the forest buffalo, which those are slightly goldish color, light gold, and these are dark, rich dark, especially these full-grown bull. Where herbivores like this, we've seen a lot of them die during the drought. So I'm going to go around and maybe possibly go back around, see if we can meet them again close to that male line, if they ever appear nearby. There, see what happened. We're going to be sending you back to Phinda.
Okay, so we are back with this pride, or still with this pride rather, and most of them have ventured up onto the top of this hill. We did try and go around the back and couldn't get a view on them. Oh my gosh, one is doing such a good stalk on the right with its full belly almost dragging on the floor. There it goes. That was so half-hearted. The other one knew was coming all along. Chuffed that they're being so active, because, like I said earlier, and like we saw with them with their Ngala leg, they have eaten, so they're fat and full. But they are still being quite active, which is so nice. Again, so nice. They bring quite a lot of excitement to a pride of lions. They don't really have to conserve their energy for hunting, so they're happy to expend it on playing and running around, which I already said is very important though. So it's not just kind of frivolous use of their energy, although it seems that way. It's actually very important for their development and for what they'll be doing later on in life, hunting for themselves. Pretty cool being able to get this angle on a pride of lions, looking up at them. You know, they're on the vehicle and you kind of a little bit higher up than they are. So it's nice getting a bit of a different view. Or even eye level. Pretty epic to be eye level with such magnificent animals. On some occasions, the lionesses will mate with their fathers. They'll stay with the pride. And then on other occasions, which we actually spoke about earlier, how two of the lionesses of this pride, the sub-adults, have actually broken away and are now mating with adults of dominant males of a different territory. So it can happen that occasionally the female will mate with her father, and that's how the pride kind of gets bigger and bigger. But yeah, sometimes there will be a breakaway, and that will generally be because of the food, not wanting to share. It's not necessarily like a, I don't know, maybe moral thing. They just will move away because they don't feel the need to, or they don't want to share their meals with a bunch of cubs, so they're happy to head off on their own. But the genetic diversity kind of comes into a pride when the males are overthrown by other males, other dominant males. Yeah, that is extremely true. If you've ever, I don't know if any of our viewers, or I'm sure lots of you do or have in the past, had a kitten that then grows into a cat, and you will know from that experience that kittens are far more playful and have a lot more energy to expend than an adult cat. And the adult cats tend to just laze around, sleeping most of the time. And And that is almost exactly the same as what we have here, to sleep pretty much most of the time, with the odd hunt in between to provide for their cubs. So all the energy that they store by sleeping all the time, they put into surviving, so hunting, defending themselves. Whereas cubs don't have that responsibility. They don't yet have to hunt or really defend themselves. They've got their to do. So they're happy to use all the energy that they get from eating and suckling on playing and developing their skills for later on. They do look like they are settling down, and as we've kind of seen, they've got quite fat bellies. I think that they might be settling in for the day. But we are going to send you across to Andrew with his male lion.
Thanks, Kim. So it's about the same here. We have a male. That male that we had, we actually left him going back to that buffalo to see what they're doing there. So we lost them in this wood coming this way. And we're just going to see if maybe he probably got these buffalo audios, because this is the general position where they might pop out, or slightly western side of here. Where there I saw was one of their probably year-old or year-and-a-half-old young buffalo that couldn't move properly, but the older member there behind that young one. So we're just going to see if they ever come around here. He's probably going to be very much, as you can see, he's looking there. He's probably got the audio ready. So he's looking the direction, it's south, the way he's looking. That's where these buffalo coming from. So they might maybe avoid him. The wind, it's very quiet. For sure, males are always, very chill animal. So I heard one of a buffalo make sound. That's why he looked back there again. But now he's 100% sure there is a buffalo coming his way. Some buffalo, they would attempt to chase the male lion, or if he's a single, but some, they were trying to move away immediately. He's probably got a visual right now. He's showing very interest on that. Fiona, yeah, you can, especially female. He could do fully grown female by himself if there is no disturbing. Disturbing we're talking about is the whole herd coming back to chase him off their friend. This is where sometimes. So I'm gonna move backwards. So we gotta, looks like they're moving towards him for now. So I'm gonna move backwards just to see what is going to be happening. So we don't want to be part of the issue here, but it's okay if we keeping the distance just to see then if it's ever hunt happened, we still got it both. Soon we'll have a buffalo visual, and then while we got him there, if we lost him for now, it's fine. We're going to locate him. What do you think, Simon? Should I go back slightly, right? So we're gonna wait here. So he's chasing. So we're gonna go. He's chasing. See what happened?
Flea, and that was the Flea hand.
Crash, live, lost.
Sorry everyone about that cut off beat there. So what happened when you were all off, it happens that the whole herd rushed back to that male, and then we saw him run across this road, and then I'm sure we'll find him, but it's so cool just to see the behavior of the whole buffalo, how they react after seeing dangerous. So, you know, the way he was running towards them, all he was expecting to see the whole herd run away from him, so he would target any one of the weakest. But likely not that they eventually, once they spot him. Simon, I think he's got a visuals. Oh, there he is. So you see now he's trying to make a space for them to walk past him. Can't believe that's where they are right now, this buffalo. That's where he was sleeping. But anyway, he tried his luck, and they're still smelling where he was. This is one of a thing that we always talk about. Sometimes when the prey species smell where the danger come from, or any of a chance that the danger is around, they can pick it up. If it's impala, they mainly run away immediately, and they worry too much because they don't know where the danger is. But at least this buffalo know exactly what happened here. They already seen that line already move out of their sight. But they will be slightly crazy for now, like these wandering around, making sure the young one is in the middle, and these older one, they will be surrounding these young ones, so there's no problem with these young ones. Because these are mainly the one that the lions will look for in a herd. See how they're smelling on the ground? This way he was lying down there. So these young ones also gain experience from the bigger one. What is happening there, they take it on, they grow up with it. So it's their life, it's a safety way of knowing exactly how to react if the situation is like this next time, if they're alone without these parents. So for him, it's going to be a little bit tough. I don't think if he ever try again, it's when this buffalo would they're going to forget what happened in the next probably an hour or two when they were slightly away from here. They will forget. But if it was a whole pride, what we've seen happen there, you know, this is how sometimes they succeed in hunting buffalo, because once these buffalo aim on chasing lions, they all spread around as a lion's pride. This one, I think she's trying to move around close to where that lioness has disappeared into. They're trying to get a visual of him, but maybe he's lying flat somewhere there in these grasses. Giraffe, so what happened is a chance of lion getting killed if the lion doesn't get away, especially this year. He's actually outnumbered by himself, forcing himself into this kind of herd like this. And then if they push him, he doesn't want to get away, you would get a very serious injury. But it's cool that we saw him run away from them. This is how he would save his own life. And then he's also not walking properly. What I saw there, it looks like he had a problem with walking, probably limp a bit. This is the last group in the end, and they're still trying to understand, or they don't really believe that they probably, I'm not sure they're 100% sure how many lions. I've only seen one. It's quite easy for the buffalo to behave like this because they've seen this through their lives, hunted by lions mainly in this area. They've been fighting lions. Some of them lost their lives, killed by the lions. Well, twice I've seen how lions suffer from injury from buffalo. And once that happens, a serious injury would lead to very much severe pain or death. It happens sometimes, he injured that he couldn't walk. So the pride will move out, but they won't bring him food or her food. But they will see how she does or he does. Eventually, you're just gonna lose condition due to starvation. So I'm gonna carefully move, trying to see where this male now he is. It's probably not far from here, but they're already now politely walking past by this scenery here. So let's try and move slightly in. Wherever he is, probably just lying flat. I'm going to drive carefully because this was the last sighting of him going in this kind of area like this. So I'm going to carry on. Look, I'm very much interested to see where he is. So we got a sighting of him again.
yellow-billed kite flying over. But more excitingly, we've got 2 black rhinos quite off in the distance. Can't get much closer than we are. The one on the right is very characteristically sticking his head up in the air, showing us off his much rounded face compared to the white rhino. More round ears as well. And then that sway in the back, that deep dip, which the white rhino doesn't have. So just a few of the things that we use to identify a black rhino from a white rhino from this distance. But always a very, very cool sighting. Black rhino are fairly endangered and more threatened than the white rhino, so very, very cool that we can see 2 together like this. From this distance, I won't be able to say exactly what's going on, exactly what the situation is, but generally speaking, black rhino are usually solitary unless they have a calf, so it is possible that this is a mating pair of rhino, a male following the female around, mating with her every now and again. And contributing to the growing population of black rhino in South Africa, which is very exciting. Very slowly kind of moving off into the thicket. And as we know, black rhino are browsers as opposed to grazers. So browsers being those that eat off of trees and bushes, and grazers that eat the grass. So the habitat we can see them in at the moment, there's quite a lot of bushes around them, so that's perfect for them. They would feel very happy and concealed in those bushes. There's plenty for them to eat, if that is what they are up to. Number of zebra as well. We noticed even last night, or like quite often, we come across these low-lying areas where we find the zebra or other grazing animals. Like yesterday we were in that open area that was kind of, well, it was a very low-lying area. And the grass always seems a bit greener in those areas, and then you see that the animals take advantage of that and move into those valleys or drainage lines. Oops. There's a beetle attacking Owen. But we are going to, I think, maybe get a little bit of a closer look. We'll see if we can't get closer to these rhinos. Otherwise, we might see if we can get a little bit closer to the zebra. But we'll send you over to some buffalo and lion, which sounds quite exciting.
Good luck, Kim. So what you see there on the background is this buffalo again. So it looks like he ran slightly far from that last position. He found himself into this little mound. But I don't think this is the hunting again. Just trying to see if you stay away from the buffalo. And they were, unless if the change come this direction here, they were moving. Looks like they're going to avoid him from that. Unless if they go to sight of him again, they'll be probably interested on getting him off of this side. But he's looking also, he's aware of he might be pushed out of here soon. So it's cool having this herd of buffalo here. If it's ever, I know the bride haven't actually been seen this morning. But if it's a chance the herd is bride, this buffalo herd, that they're around here, they would probably come in, even this time of the day where it's still cloudy and very nice for them. They have a lot of energy to do that. Unless if they're static on a kill somewhere else, they're probably not going to bother coming out back here. But he can't stop looking at them. It's not that maybe he's scared of them. He's looking for any easy target there. It happens maybe he would either be behind the herd always, or forget about the herd, just lying here flat. Let them go. But there is a baby, probably maybe a day old, that cannot even walk properly, still young. Maybe that's why they're so strict in terms of not letting anything close by to them. They've probably got his scent where he have move on. These bulls, they're leading the herd right in front. They're the one they always see what happened in front of the herd because there's a security. He's now worried a little bit because some buffalo looks like they still haven't passed here. There's a chance they might turn to his position. He's busy deducting and a target there. It's a plenty of buffalo here, so what he can do is, if he has to, like we saw him run towards them, if they were to run away from him there, whoever cannot make it, he will be down already by that time. So, but they were so clever in making sure they have to push this line away before they run off all of them. I might say that, a herd of buffalo, they're less dangerous than single or three buffalo, especially we're talking about if a human being walking around close to them. You would worry too much about these single buffalo, but not these herd where there's a chance they may run away from you, not to come back, or they may come back, but they did run away first time. See how they're moving in. They're also putting their nostrils down. Some of them feeding, but some of those I have seen, they know the danger, what is like exactly. And they would make sure that they're sure where that line is. But clever pride of line, this is what they do. They flush the herd, and the herd would come back. Raleigh? Yes. So what would happen is that they would probably, run through the herd, and they're trying to flush the head. So everybody will just gonna lose control and run around and pick any target they're comfortable with in the herd. But if what we've seen there looks like everything was out of control because he singled himself. And they already saw, since he was coming from the way distance, it was clearly open enough for them to even know exactly that he's the only one, and they were probably gonna chase him off. So if it was a whole pride, what they would do, each one would take its own position when they do that. When they run for single target and they fail, is that the whole herd will run, and the one with a lot of energy will run back to the herd again. By that is this way he or she single herself from the herd, and the whole pride was just gonna get around that, making sure that they have to do big damage or possible kill it before the whole herd go back to that area. Eventually herd, of course, they may come back and they find they already killed it. What they will do is they will leave the body still kicking, and they will just gonna stand far distances while the whole herd is around that killing scene. Eventually they will move off, and then they will return back to feed on their prey. But maybe they haven't spotted him yet, because there's a lot of brushes between him and them. But maybe he might actually wanted to move, then they will spot him. He's gonna probably run past our car here, and it's the only position I am right now where we can get everybody's signal. If I move slightly, then I may likely to lose signal, so we don't see what's gonna happen. See, they don't really know that exactly is there yet. But once they spot him, but he's not feeling comfortable, he may move. He's like, no, I'm gonna move. I'm outnumbered. Well, it's a lot of meal for sure. Trample 07, you're right, you can actually see how they actually motion in. They're actually doing very slow motion in here, or they can spot him already. He's growling. It's like very low kind of growl, very low. Maybe this is to say it's enough, stay back there. I'm not gonna hunt you again, but I'm sure they will push him off. Listen to this silent segment over here we're gonna do. There won't be any chance for him for now. They're already aware of him. You can see all of these bulls that we were talking about with this helmet head already in this area. So they are the one that they will win a situation here if it says anything, because they are the one that making sure the whole herd are all safe. So from this stage now, when they move out of here, they make sure these bigger bulls, they will lead forward. And then the other one, they will be right in the end. So guys, I'm going to stay here just to see what these buffalo they would end up to with this line.
Has it just pretended to be dead? Oh, that was amazing. I can't. How do I? It's like that is hands down the coolest.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily. WildEarth is launching our brand new Explorer program with an opportunity to win a very special WildEarth expedition. The lucky winner will get a behind-the-scenes WildEarth experience at the magnificent andBeyond Ngala Tainted Safari Camp. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend with a chance to sleep out in the unique Ngala treehouse. Become a WildEarth explorer and stand a chance to win this and many other prizes. Terms and conditions apply.
Why is the Mara special? It's one of the only few places that you can find the annual wildebeest migration. I will still go for the lion. The main reason is a sign of royalty, leadership in my tribe, and apart from that, over here, it is feared by all but loved by everyone.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth. Join our Explorers program so we can keep on sharing nature with the world. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic WildEarth expeditions, have access to an animal identification app, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn connects a global population with nature.
So while we were watching those black rhino, we did come down to see if we could get a closer look, and we have been unable to. But we found a tawny eagle and a vulture sitting up in a tree. There was a third bird of prey that we actually couldn't identify. It was another brown eagle, and it flew away before we were able to work out what it was. But them sitting in the tree here leads us to believe that there must be something around for them to be snacking on. Oh wow, impala having quite a display of dominance. It's the most hilarious noise. I don't know if you can hear that, but they are going mad. That's hilarious. I don't know who started that. That is what we call rutting. It is not yet rutting season. Rutting season starts in kind of April time, March, April, May kind of time. And that's when they will be fighting each other for their own harem of females. But the tawny eagle is being... What is... It looks like a female redback shrike that was, what's the word? I've just completely forgotten the word. Yeah, just kind of harassing the tawny eagle. I don't know if she might have a nest nearby, that she's not happy with him being nearby. But yesterday we were talking about, when we were with that giraffe skeleton, we were talking about animals that help to clean up and scavenge from carcasses. The vulture's an obvious one, but I also mentioned a few other birds of prey that will happily scavenge. The tawny eagle is one of those birds. And there was a yellow-billed kite, and like I said, that unidentified other bird. And the fact that there were so many all in one tree does make you think that there must be something nearby, but we've scanned around with our binoculars and we haven't been able to see anything yet. That tawny eagle keeps calling us, well, as if there is another one around. They are monogamous, and you can quite often see them in pairs, especially around this time of year, which is egg-laying kind of time of the year, or raising of young. There's the redback shrike back again. But again, interesting. I mean, if there was a carcass nearby that it was interested in, I don't feel like it would be making these noises and attracting any attention to itself. Haley, the sky looks that way, but the feel is not the feel of rain. It's quite warm. The wind is blowing a bit, so I feel like the cloud cover might blow off. And these clouds are just not ominous or heavy enough to rain on us. We've had a few very soft drips or drops on us. There you go. Yeah, that shrike attacking. It's going so close. If I were it, I would keep my distance. I mean, I can't imagine the tawny eagle snatching it out of the air, but it does have a rather big and powerful bill that could do some damage. It is a nice visual, and I think we're probably going to stay with him and see if that calling gets another bird to come in. Shame that redback shark is really giving him a hard time. The tawny eagle seems to kind of forget that there's someone tormenting him, and then the redback shark, just to remind him, gives a good, like, literally almost looks like he bops him on the head with her claws, and then carries on to mob her. And across the hill we have a wildebeest with a warthog with a calf. It's quite interesting for a bit of a size comparison. You can see how the baby wildebeest or the wildebeest calf fits in between the sizes of the wildebeest and the warthog. This is actually the first wildebeest calf that I've seen around this area. And interestingly, I'm sure it's got to do with rainfall, there seem to be a lot of youngsters on the floodplain where we were last night, as opposed to in the rest of the reserve. Maybe the males just got to those ones quicker, or they might have been... I mean, with Phinda's habitat and with these mountains that you can see in the background, the weather and the habitat on Phinda are all very, very different. So just that slight variation in the seasons, possibly like a little bit later rain, a little bit earlier rain, would be the reason for these different timed births. Sweet, and you can see that wildebeest having a little run. Just like the lion cubs, remember we were talking about how young animals tend to have more energy than the adults, and that little wildebeest with his little unnecessary, or seemingly unnecessary sprint showcased that energy. And it's quite far, but you'll see or you'll notice with baby wildebeest or wildebeest calves, they have very spindly little legs, and they're running around and playing. It's very important for developing that muscle and building those muscles around the legs. Wow, that calf is probably only a few days old. It's quite difficult to say from here exactly. Well, I mean, it's difficult to say exactly either way, unless you saw it being born. But it looks very little, very skinny. Hasn't gained much weight from drinking yet. And on top of that, most of the wildebeest calves that we have on Phinda are within 2 weeks old, because they all started to have their young about 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I mean, it'll be less than 2 weeks, but I would say even less than 1 week. That one, it's very, very skinny, very little, and it's yet to gain from its mother's milk and grow that muscle and just get a bit stronger and more sturdy. There's a yellow-billed kite flying around, and it's quite nice that he's left the tawny alone, because earlier, before we came to you, the yellow-billed kite was actually mobbing the tawny eagle. So I think it's a little bit of a better enemy, a shrike, as opposed to a kite. Having said that, though, shrikes are very awesome little birds of prey. Mrs. Sunshine, the wildebeest, I think it is in a herd. I just think that they are possibly on the other side of the hill to us right now. I don't think we can see see the rest of the herd. It would be unusual for them to be alone. She obviously does feel quite safe though, because there's a number of eyes around with all the impala and zebra that are hanging around. So she's not completely alone. She may not be amongst her own species, but she is still with a group that will help her to look out for any threats. But yeah, I mean, wildebeests have their calf in herds. They give birth in the herd, and the herd will actually form a bit of a barrier, a very loose circle around the female, or they'll show a lot of interest in the female that's giving birth. So they'll stay within the herd while they give birth. But impala, on the other hand, will actually go off and seek like a little dense thicket where they'll go and give birth, and they'll actually stay with that impala lamb for a couple of days, going out and grazing and then coming back and letting the impala lamb suckle. A lot of wildebeest do get killed by predators, but half of their kind of survival tactics is good breeding, or being quite effective in their breeding. So even though they are quite an easy target for predators, most will tend to last quite a while because of their herd tactics and because of the breeding and multiplying of numbers and growing populations. So their numbers should continue to grow, depending obviously on how many predators there are in the area. But this one would do well to get back to her herd. Okay, I think that we may carry on from here. I was hoping that a second tawny may come with all that calling, but it doesn't seem so. We are going to send you over to see another species of plains game.
Everyone, so we have decided to leave our male line and the whole herd of buffalo, but now they have moved separate, where the herd of buffalo have moved slightly north from that last position where we were running around a little bit, and the lines, we left him lying, but in a thicket where we don't get to feed, we don't have a signal, so we just decided to give it a little bit of the break runner right now, and then we're going to try something else on the eastern side while we're working around here, possibly elephants we'll be looking for. If it's a chance, the leopard, maybe, we're in the north where, Talamba is it by chances she may be seen, or this is just the luck, and then this is how we're going to be moving around, and we're just going to see what else we pick it up and then put on a frame for everyone to have a look of what we see. So I believe is linked giraffe and Phinda.
Welcome back. We have found some giraffe, and they seem to be feeding on some small fever trees, the little leaflets on the fever trees. There are loads of little fever trees in this area. Almost all the trees behind them that you can see are fever trees. It's going to be quite beautiful when they all grow big and old. Lavender blue we don't get, baobab trees do not occur naturally in this area. There's actually one that someone planted on the reserve, but it is not doing so well. It's not the right. I'm not sure what's not right about it. Actually, I don't really know why why it's not successful here. But yeah, it's kind of very stunted in growth. It's all trunk and not many branches and not many leaves. Bianca, that's a good question. They have quite tough tongues, but they won't necessarily actually chew and eat the thorns. What they do is they use those long, tough tongues to kind of curl around a branch, say, and then pull back off the branch, collecting all the little leaves that come off with their tongue. They do actually, they tend to avoid. Avoid actually eating the thorns. Levi, apparently giraffes can get up to 6 meters high, which is quite tall. Can you imagine standing next to a 6 meter high giraffe? Would be a pretty intimidating thing. Oh, apologies. So that would probably be like quite a big male giraffe at 6 meters. I'd say they probably average around just over 4, between 4 and 5 meters. I'd say like a female giraffe would normally be. I have absolutely no idea which species of giraffe has the most spots, and to be honest, I'm not sure anyone else would. I do not think that that's something that people have looked at and worked out and concluded or come to a conclusion about. There are certain giraffe species that have patterns or spots that are or patches that are closer together than others, and maybe they would have more spots, but then maybe their spots are bigger. So yeah, I'm not sure. Sure, even despite this cloud cover, the heat is rising. It's getting a bit hot. Animals have all gone and had their drink for the morning. The watering hole. Preparing for a hot day. Not sure. I don't know if anyone's ever tried, and I most certainly have not, nor have I seen anyone ever try. But if you look at the slope of the giraffe's back, I don't think it would be a very comfortable animal to ride. I don't even know how well they are habituated or tamed. I'm sure if you tried very hard that you could tame one and let it ride on its back, but well, I'm sure that someone in the history of time must have attempted that at some point. I mean, why are there not, or why were there not giraffe being ridden by clowns in circuses? That would be quite a spectacle. I'm sure that people would have attempted. So maybe it's not quite possible. Oh, we've got a herd of buffalo coming in front of us. Small herd. Well, there may be more to come. They've also just come from the watering hole. And they'll probably now be trying to find somewhere to, or just be moving through the area grazing. We might try and get a little bit closer to these buffaloes, but we are going to send you to Djuma for now while we reposition a little bit.
right, everyone. So, since we're on the look for anything we can find, so now we come across the very interesting flowers. As you can see, I mean, sometimes you find these flowers slightly yellow. Depend. We're in the area. We have two kind of like a different color, which is some are yellow, some are kind of like this color, but it's called day flower. Sorry, the radio is giving a lot of sound. So, a day flower or comuline. So, it's one of the plants actually out in the wild where, you know, if I don't know if I can able to come through, Simon, there. So in the middle of this flower, it's a little position where it hold a little bit of a water. But that water has actually been used for eye drop. Whoever actually suffer with the eye in the bush, they would use that. Look for the a flower, which then is very difficult to look for the flower. If it's a winter, then you won't find it, or you can find it, but then it won't be any flower that is like that. So they're only flowering this time of year, and most of the flower, including this morning glory flower, is all of type, and only just because of that now, it just rained. You know, they pick up again. And then all you see, as long as you drive along the road. But mainly the elephants love the plants, feed on them itself, not the flowers. Can feed on a flower, doesn't matter. But a lot of time baboon will go, monkeys will go for flowers because it's kind of like test sweeted, little water that comes out of that. But it's useful for eye drop, comolina or day flower plant that you mainly find in the bush. So those of spend a lot of time in the bush, or hunters, or in the older days, they will rely on such a plant. But then if it's in the summer, because in the winter you won't see many of them around, and they will rather use something else. And then for sunburn, they would use a sausage tree, and then they'll peel off these huge fruit, and they apply on their skin. Then, of course, there's sun preventions. This is kind of like an older day where the people used to hunt, but it's such a beautiful sea inside. This is where it shows a little bit of a yellow, and then from there it's going to drop off. A small seed is going to drop off to the ground, where the next year the seed is going to germinate, and again is another plant is going to take over. Comolina day flower. So we're going to move on along this road here. Hopefully we come across anything, maybe another cat. You never know where the other pride of lions as a Talamati are right now. But probably that they would be around, or even though they're out of reach for us right now. But I'm sure with the smell of buffalo that they have came up past in the area, there's a chance that also looks like elephants were here, hey? Simon, look at this. Just gonna see where these elephants are fresh. Where here? In the middle of the night, so the soil itself, it's not actually very bad to tell. It was actually raining yesterday, but all it does, you know, every time animals have walked through here, excavate that take places, all soil that is disturbed, probably digging for the hole, not for that, but probably for a tubers. That is actually, it's in underneath of the, or very much deep inside. So those are the one of the, I don't know if Simon you can able to zoom in there. Oh, clearly enough, but not, probably not with the camera. But they would actually dig for a tubers, which is usually on the ground, maybe 45 centimeter off the ground. Sometimes some of them can be deeper enough like that, but it's only very much good chance for the elephants to disturb the grasses or the ground. It's when it's wet, and then they would use their 4 feet to dig, but support the trunk to able to get. Even there is a root where some of the roots is probably showing out here. This is one of the roots, but I think it was not all about that. This was all about maybe the tubers, because if it was all about these would be actually been dug off, probably trying to chew, and then all you see here is the remain of the bark that maybe didn't feed on, and you can able to witness the trees will also be disturbed. And then this is where you can tell, oh, there was actually that elephant was digging for a roots or anything, but that probably was for a tubers, which is actually round fruit, or then it usually produce a little bit of the plants grow up. But for the animal to know exactly, they don't have to sense through the plant itself, but they sense through the surface where that plant exactly, it's got to have a specific smell for that elephant to know exactly what is underneath, it's eatable or not, or also how far it's in for that elephant to be able to dig and get it. So that's why I see it's quite a lot of sand disturbed here, because it's quite a lot easy with the soils. It's wet. Hopefully we'll find this elephant. Sometimes they travel far away, sometimes they don't really travel far away. There are waters everywhere, so they can drink as they go. Or sometimes more likely to find them swimming in one of these dams here. So we're heading slowly south again towards the Gari Dam. That's where you're going to be checking in there. I'm going to send you to Lauren with her silent segment.
So we have a small herd of buffalo here that we've gotten ourselves a little bit closer to. We did have a rhino who ambled on through, but he was not very keen to be on camera, so he's shuffled off into those small fever trees that the giraffe were feeding on. But these buffaloes are being pretty chilled. They're not going anywhere. Not even really feeding. Some are chewing the cud. You can see that one right in the center. Chewing and chewing and chewing away. And he'll be chewing basically regurgitated grass. And they tend to chew grass or they just, they regurgitate it to carry on chewing it to, it's kind of part of their digestive system, that regurgitation and continuous chewing to grind it down really nice and fine and make sure they get all the nutrients that they can out of it. Like I said earlier, I think they've just come from a watering hole. And they will probably be looking for somewhere to go and feed for the day, go and graze. So one on the left, very vigorously chewing her cud. You can see that bottom jaw kind of on a rotation.
Right, everyone, so we're talking about the tracks of elephants that have, looks like there's a whole group of them everywhere we go. There's a lot of tracks, but we discover one. So here we got a young male elephant, busy, so it looks like he's just playing mud. Buff for now, as you can see how he uses his foreleg. And then from there, he disturbed the water to very much dirty. And all he does is suck into the trunk and they would spray over himself just like that. So this is a way of cooling off and then making sure that the whole rankle or the crack or fold over the skin, it's well plastered with this mud. And then they would probably eventually find one trees or some of these low trees or straight trees and rub against that. Also for that reason it's all about squash all the ticks, parasite, eggs that are laid in these folders by the parasite. But elephants, they love mud, they love water, playing with water. And all he does there, it's not all about the heat. It's not actually very hot yet, but they need, every time there's water, this is how they create their own puddle of water everywhere they go. For the next time they'll be around here.
So in the background, or quite far off behind this little herd of buffalo, we've got some zebra. And always an interesting companion to animals like buffalo and like zebra is the oxpecker. Here in Phinda we've just got the red-billed oxpecker. There's one perched, just one that I can see perched on the back of one of the buffalo. It's quite interesting. Earlier there were two. Let's see if I can see that other one. I can't even see the one now. But there was it was a juvenile or a youngster. Didn't yet have its red bill or its coloured eye, so just quite pale looking. And I think if it were out of context, it would be quite a difficult bird to identify. But it was kind of making quite an interesting call to the adult while it was sitting on the back of the buffalo. It sounded like it was kind of calling for food, but that's... They're on the nose of that one now.
In the center.
Yeah, one shaking its head. It must be quite irritating. You can see the youngster there on the back without its red bill. It's interesting. I wonder if, and I'm sure it can feed itself, but possibly the adult is showing it or feeding it, and that's why it's calling to it like it was. Amazing how they hold onto the side like that. Okay, well, that's us for this morning. I hope you enjoyed your morning, and we will see you hopefully again this afternoon.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am clearly not the only one enjoying the sunshine today. My reptilian friend over here, the rock monitor, is also enjoying it, lying flat on the log and, well, soaking up all the rays. So I'm very happy the sun is out, and of course it's your live safari. It's time through the African bush.